Hey guys, okay, I'm going to start to reassemble this now. So I'm going to start out by, we got our accelerator spring in there. Put our little accelerator squirter back in here. Make sure the check ball and the little weight's in place there. Drop this in. As I was cleaning this, as mentioning earlier, I used this little nozzle here and cleaned everything, put a little wire, cleaned everything out really good, sprayed that, make sure all the little orifices and everything are cleaned out real good. Swap back over here to the small guy here. So we've already went through the float drop and float level there. Yeah, I'm going to try that. I'm over in Eastern Washington. I'll be driving this vehicle most of the time. It's a 55 Chevy pickup with a 350 in it. It's got a radiator. It's got a fan that cools the radiator. And so I imagine it's going to be warm. So I'm going to try this half inch on the float height there. That'll keep a little less fuel in the carburetor. You check out this really good channel. I learned a lot from this guy, Bonehead. He's got a really good setup on these carburetors and knows them real well, and kind of been my mentor on how I set this one up. So yeah, really shout out to Bonehead there. Real good guy. Real good on answering questions and stuff there for you. So okay, we're just going to set the... Okay, we got that guy all back in. I'm just going to go ahead and run these down. Okay, guys, so I'm just finishing up here. Last little linkage here going on here. Just the choke flap linkage here. So we'll get that guy in there. Kind of an angle's a little bad here. Okay, there we go. And then these little clips here, they kind of bowed out a little bit like that. So I take the bow. It's kind of easy to grab a hold of there. Just get it in there and give it a little push. Just like that. Go right in there. Okay, there we go. So now what I'm going to do is, so we got our all the linkages working good. Secondaries appear to be opening fine. So what I'm going to do now is go through a little bit of a choke set, the way that I did set up my choke here. So most people are probably familiar with the way that the choke works on here. There's a spring that's inside of here, and as you roll it around, it moves the linkage in the flap, and there's little marks on here. And so what I like to do when it's all freed up and the choke's moving right, bring it down to a closed position, just so there's a little bit of, you don't want a whole lot on it, but there, and that's right about in the middle of my index marks there. So I'm just going to go ahead and give that a tighten up, and then we'll see how that works when we get over there and run the vehicle. But I think that should work pretty good over there. Give this last guy here, and then we're going to set back in the metering rods now. Just pull these aside. So how these a good tuning tip on these metering rods is that if you set it up like this, and let's say you have a little bit of a flat spot when you're going from the cruising into the power mode. A lot of times the beautiful thing about these carburetors is as they're on the vehicle, they're super easy to tune. So what happens with these guys here is that when you're idle and you're pulling a good vacuum, and that is pulling these guys down into the main jets where it's fatter, where this tube is fatter here, it's pulling it down. As you get into a power mode, then the spring here pulls this up and sets the smaller part of this rod into the jet, which lets more fuel past. And so it's kind of a fighting the vacuum and the springs. So you can get these springs in a stronger spring, and that'll pull it up faster and could very possibly get rid of that flat spot on there when you want to make that little bit of a change there if you're having that. A good rule of thumb too for the spring is that if you pull a vacuum off your main manifold vacuum here, and let's just say that you pull 16 pounds here, just take half of that away, and that'll be 8, and they make an 8-inch spring, 8-pound spring. It's 8 inches. You can just simply, it's a good way to start is to just take half of the vacuum and match it with the spring. If there happens to be, a lot of guys too will just go with the heavy spring right away and just start going backwards until they create the problem that they were having before, and then go up to the next spring up. A lot of times that'll take care of the tuning for you. You want this thing to, pick up and go good. Sometimes you want to give these guys a little push into there to where they back up. You want them to you want to find the sweet spot where they just want to go down in there like that real easily. Put this guy back on. Okay, so a couple other things on this. So we got this all set up now. There's a couple other things on here. So we've done our the float right there with the 1/2-inch drill bit. We've done the drop. There's a couple other adjustments on here that are kind of important right here. This here is accelerator pump height off of the top of the carburetor to the top of the accelerator pump, and they want that to be 17/30 seconds. So what we're going to do here with that is this measurement is done right here. I've made a notch right there. Let's see if we can focus. That second notch, anyways, I'm hoping that you can see this. That second notch is going to line up with the top of the accelerator pump right there to that second notch. Okay, that adjustment is done by bending this rod right here, and that'll give you that height. So you get it set up at the right height there. Okay, guys, a couple of setups on here. This fast idle linkage right here, it shows you the gap that they want between the choke. So what you want to do here is just go ahead and give it some throttle, and then what you want to do is move this. You want to move your choke linkage down here to the second step right on there, and they want this gap right in here. See how it's just slightly opened a little bit? Let me see if I can show you that. And they want that gap, that opening right there, to be between, it'll say right here, between 3/64 and 5/64. 3/64 and 5/64. Okay, so we got that. That's right. It's about 3:16 or 3:30 seconds. Next one is secondary throttle lockout on electric choke. With the throttle lever at idle position, the choke closed all the way. So now what you want to do is just go ahead and give it gas, and that's going to set your idle. I don't even have my idle touching all the way because I want the carburetor to be set up right. Now this little tab right there, they want the gap to be right in there, 1/64. So this just floats freely of that and not quite touching on this back side. So I got that, and you just bend that tab to get that adjustment. Okay, guys, next is where the secondaries open up at. They want the secondaries to open up at 13/30 seconds. So how we're going to determine that is, here's your primaries right here, and you'll notice that the secondaries are just starting to open right there. So they want this. They want the distance. Let's see if I can get this right. I'm kind of backwards here. But anyways, they want this to be 13. Let's see if I can do it like this, get you the idea. They want you to be from the edge of the primary to the right here. They want this to be, see, it's just starting to open right there. That's 13/30 seconds from there to there. and it starts to close right there. And that's going to be, I got this gauge backwards here, but anyways, you get the idea. From here to here, right there. That gives you kind of an idea right there. Okay, so that's that adjustment. That's important. And to get that adjustment, this lever right here, back by the choke, this is the arm that you want to bend to give you that secondary opening right there. Hopefully you can see that arm right there. This little arm right there. There we go. Okay, so that's that adjustment right there. Okay, so about the last adjustment that we got here is that with the primary and secondary valves closed all the way, then there's another adjustment that's right here, and it's between this, you can bend this and this arm, and they want this here to be 40 thousandths. See how I can get a feeler gauge right in there? 40 thousandths right there. So you want that little bit of a gap right there, and you can get that by bending that tab. And you want both the primary and secondary closed all the way. So that's pretty much it on all the adjustments for the carburetor, and so I'm ready to take it over and throw it on there, and hopefully she runs good. And I appreciate you guys watching, and yeah, give Bonehead's channel a try there. He's got a El Camino and a Chevelle. He's done some really nice stuff to him, and a shout out to him for all the help that he's given me, and he's real good at answering questions. So all right, thanks guys. Comment, subscribe.